she thought she could get away with it every single week. A black homeowner, patient and respectful, watched his trash can get knocked over again and again by the same HOA board member who insisted it was just an accident. But deep down he knew it wasn't. The tire marks were always too perfectly aligned, the angle too deliberate, and the timing too suspicious. It was like she waited for him to leave for work, then swerved just enough to make her point. And each time as he returned home to a scattered mess, he could feel the weight of something darker than a simple neighborhood dispute. Something targeted, something personal. He had tried to ignore it until the day he caught the smirk she couldn't hide. That was the moment he realized it wasn't just harassment. It was a message, and she believed he couldn't do anything about it. But what she never expected was that he was about to install something that would expose everything she had tried to hide. A silent witness. A truth she couldn't outrun, because what happens when someone who's been pushed too far finally pushes back watch until the end. Wait a second, let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and make sure to, subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this one. Marcus had moved into the neighborhood 3 years earlier, drawn by the promise of peace, safety, and a place where he could focus on rebuilding his life after the loss of his mother. His home became a sanctuary, somewhere he tended a small garden, fixed things in the garage, and waved at kids riding bikes along the sidewalk. He liked routine, especially Tuesday mornings when he rolled his trash can to the curb before heading out for work. It felt like a small, steady piece of everyday life. But not everyone saw him as just another neighbor. From the first week, he moved in Patricia. The self-appointed queen of the HOA watched him with an icy scrutiny he could feel from across the street. She questioned his gardening choices, left notices about minor things others were allowed to overlook, and insisted rules were strictly enforced. However, they seemed to apply only to him. Marcus brushed it off, hoping patience would be enough. But then the trash can incidents began. At first, he thought it was a coincidence. Maybe a delivery truck hit it. Perhaps the wind knocked it over. But the pattern became undeniable. Every single week. Always on her side of the street. Always right after he left, he tried adjusting the placement. Tried securing it with a small weight. Nothing mattered. Each week it was found toppled, sometimes crushed and split. Open, leaving his belongings scattered like an accusation. Something was coming, and he could feel it tightening around him, the turning point came early one morning when he left for work a few minutes later than usual. As he backed out of his driveway, he spotted Patricia's car creeping down the street. Her eyes flicked toward his driveway, then toward the trash can placed neatly at the curb. She slowed, not to wave, not to acknowledge him, but to wait. When he drove off, she resumed her crawl. Something inside him tightened. Curiosity pulled at him, urging him to look back through his rearview mirror. And when he did, he saw it, her car drifting deliberately closer to the curb. Then a jolt, a crush. The trash can tipped over as her tire rolled over its edge. She didn't stop. She didn't check if she had hit anything. She just kept driving, lifting her chin in the mirror. With the kind of confidence only someone who felt untouchable could possess, that was the moment everything changed. Marcus pulled over down the street, heart pounding with a mix of anger and disbelief. He had known something was wrong, but seeing it with his own eyes was a different kind of wound. It wasn't just vandalism, it was targeted harassment. And for him, as a black man living alone in a majority-white neighborhood, with a notoriously powerful HOA confronting her without proof, felt dangerous. For weeks, the same cycle continued. The trash can was knocked over. The judgmental notices on his door. The smug glance she would give whenever they crossed paths. And always the unspoken implication he had no witnesses, no voice, and no power. Meanwhile, she had connections, authority, and the confidence of someone protected by the system. But Marcus wasn't helpless. He was patient, methodical, quietly determined. He bought a heavy-duty trash can reinforced with a metal rim. It still ended up under her tire. Then he installed a small decorative fence border near the curb. She accidentally backed into it and filed a complaint against him, claiming it was unsafe for the community. That's when he realized she wasn't just trying to intimidate him, she was trying to push him out, but instead of confronting her directly, He made one final calculated move. He ordered a hidden security camera, disguised as a simple yard light motion, activated high resolution, nearly impossible to detect. He installed it quietly at dusk, positioned perfectly toward the curb. All he had to do now was wait, and Patricia, consistent as the rising sun, did not disappoint. The very next morning, just minutes after Marcus left for work, Patricia's car approached. The curb with its familiar slow prowl. The camera captured every second with chilling clarity. She angled her car, lined up the trash can, and pressed her foot on the gas, just enough to send it tumbling and cracking against the pavement. The lens caught the smirk as she did it, a satisfied curl at the corner of her mouth that revealed everything she had tried to hide behind HOA. Rules and polite condescension. But that was not all the camera captured, for the first time she didn't just bump the can. She got out, kicked it farther into the street, and muttered under her breath as she dusted off her hands. The microphone picked up fragments, not in this neighborhood, tired of him, should've known better. Words soaked in entitlement. Words dripping with prejudice. By the time Marcus returned home, the footage was waiting. Watching it filled him with a storm of emotions, anger at her audacity, sadness at the meaning behind her actions, and exhaustion from the unspoken battles he had fought silently for months. But woven through it all was relief. He finally had proof, no room for lies. No space for excuses. No more hiding behind rules meant to control him. He didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, he submitted the footage directly to the full HOA board along with timestamps and past incident reports she had written against him, and within hours the entire community knew the truth she had spent years in burying. The following week was the first time in years that Patricia didn't attend the HOA meeting because she wasn't invited anymore. The board voted to remove her unanimously after reviewing the footage. Neighbors who had never spoken to Marcus before approached his driveway with apologies, casseroles, and uneasy expressions, admitting they had noticed her behavior for years but never stepped in. For Marcus, the moment wasn't about humiliating her. It was about reclaiming his peace, his dignity, and his rightful place in the neighborhood he worked so hard to call home. Patricia's removal didn't undo the months of tension, the targeted harassment, or the loneliness of feeling unsupported, but it did something important. It shattered the illusion that her actions were harmless. Her behavior wasn't just a neighborhood dispute, it was a reflection of a larger truth. The kind of racism that hides behind rules, behind smiles, behind concerns about community standards. The type that erodes trust drop by drop. Marcus didn't move away. He rebuilt the small fence she destroyed. He set out new flowers along the curb, and every Tuesday he rolled his trash can out with a quiet sense of victory, not because he won against her, but because he stood up for himself in a world that too often demanded his silence. And the question that lingered was one every viewer must answer: how many more people face quiet battles like this every day, unseen, unheard, and dismissed, until someone finally exposes the truth? Which country and city are you watching from? Take care.